If you're looking to spend a lot of time on a few single models and play a game with a high skill ceiling that isn't updated every time you go to play, you could do a lot worse than try Adeptus Titanicus. AT, as it's known amongst its player base, is set during the Horus Heresy. And whilst you might have seen Legions Imperialis more recently, Adeptus Titanicus was the first in the epic scale series, being re-released in 2018, all supported by Games Workshop's Specialist Games division, home to Necromunda, Blood Bowl, Warhammer the Old World, and the Horus Heresy game. The game has grown a reputation for the quality of its hobby, its strong community, and vibrant tournament cycle, both narrative and competitive. So, what's the draw of it? Well, AT sees you field 6 to 7 giant stompy robots, formed not as armies, but as maniples, with different maniple formations providing different benefits in the game. The maniples face off against each other in ruined cityscapes, and attempt to beat the snot out of each other with a colourful range of weaponry.
I think it's the fact that smashy robots are cool. It's engaging, the visual draw of it, just seeing Titans on the tabletop, all of the different Legio choices.
That's Jay Abram, a tournament organiser from Warhounds to War Masters, of an Adeptus Titanicus event called Embers of War 3, that I went to this weekend just gone.
So we had our first event at the beginning of last year. We started small, it was only an 8-person event. We tried a few new ideas out, so we started having screens up with live feeds. We started having results being done through Microsoft Forms. We had some 3D printed bits to give to people, like with their nameplates and stuff like that. We started that at the beginning of last year. We ran the last event in, I think it was November. That doubled the numbers of people that came.
Jay is an absolute evangelist for Adeptus Titanicus. As a game system, it has a lot of the core mechanics of most Warhammer games, like ballistic skills, hit rolls, armor saves, wound rolls, but they're all dictated by a high degree of randomness that comes from the inherent mechanics of the game.
It's probably the best system that Games Workshop have made. The terminals are intriguing because they first scare people, but then as they learn how to get to use them, the fact that they've got, they're managing heat, they're managing shields, all of that is brilliant.
The terminals Jay talks about here are these terminal cards. They're similar in some ways to a datasheet that you might use in 40k, but whilst they're essentially reference sheets, you actually need to physically interact with the Titan's terminal. Let's say you want to get your Titan to shoot a draining, high-powered energy weapon, or you want to do something a bit simpler, like walk a bit faster than it can normally go. That's absolutely fine, you can absolutely do that, but you don't roll a d6 on advance like you do in 40k. You need to push the Titan's plasma reactor, shown by this track on the terminal. And to see how much you push it, you need to roll this glorious die, the reactor die. Now you might get nothing. You might need to take some heat or two on the plasma track, shown by these totally not foreboding nuclear symbols. Or maybe, just maybe, you could awaken the machine spirit inside the Titan. That will begin causing all sorts of crazy conditions, such as being impetuous and trying to charge the nearest enemy Titan, or having a gun shoot wildly at whatever is nearest to it, friend or foe. And to see what it shoots at, you need to use a different dice, the location dice, to see whether it shears a leg off, whether it takes a hit to the body, or whether it blows its special area off. You then need to start placing damage tracks over the different parts of the terminal. You can attempt to control the damage during the appropriately named damage control phase of the game, as you roll your dice to simulate servitors aboard the Titan, manically trying to duct tape your Titan back together so it can make one last shot at the opposing Titan before the plasma reactor overloads and the Titan becomes a thermonuclear explosion in the middle of the game board, damaging everything around it. This high degree of randomness all over Adeptus Titanicus is not a bug of the game, it's a massive feature, and a standout one at that, and is an essential part of the strategizing of the game, as the real skill in AT is deciding how much risk to take with that randomness each turn. Some other fun features I should mention as well include guns that can be blown off, void shields collapsing, Titans collapsing into buildings, ricocheting from the building into another Titan that then explodes, shooting arcs, every miniature being a centerpiece miniature, and possibly my favorite thing, every person in a game hall being actively encouraged to shout, "Engine kill," when they down an opponent's Titan, with the first one of the day getting a full cheers and applause.
It's a different game, I think, from pretty much anything else. It's a lot more fun, I think, even when you're losing. The fact that things are still happening, you still get to do something when you're losing. I find with 40k is a lot more, someone rolls dice, you end up taking models off the table. There's a bit more interaction here. And the community's always been really nice, so I've always had lots of really fun games of Titanicus.
That's Dan Robinson, fresh from his win at Beachhead 2025. The largest competitive Titanicus tournament in the UK. He's got his own YouTube channel that you can go and find out some more about AT on. And he's absolutely right about the community. I've met a lot of players at Titanicus games, and every single one has been incredibly helpful and would take the time out of their game to come and help with a query with Titanicus's incredibly dense rules system. And that's a good point with which to warn you about the big elephant in the room with AT at this moment in time. That is, there's not been much in the way of official support from Games Workshop in a little while. There have been some new terminals released with the Dark Mechanicum Stalkers for Legions Imperialis, but members of the community I spoke to said that they've been waiting for years at this point on official FAQs and updates on some basic mechanics and interactions, with little response from Games Workshop. Most said that the game system was pretty much close to being perfect, and just a few tweaks here or there would be great, such as knowing whether those new Dark Mechanicum models are traitor only, because they don't look very loyalist friendly to my eye. But there isn't actually anything stopping loyalist players running them rules-wise, which just felt wrong to a lot of players. That being said, the current rules are stable enough that the community has stepped into the breach and have covered a lot of this with unofficial rules and unofficial FAQs. A large portion of the community in the UK use the Maximal Fire Discord, which I've linked in the description alongside my own Discord that you can join for free.
You've then got a much higher band of modelling attention in the AT community compared to a lot of the other ones. You don't see grey armies ever. I've never seen a grey army at an event whatsoever. The quality, we have a lot of standout, really high quality modelers.
He's not wrong. This absolute beauty of a Reaver Titan has been painted and loaned to me by my friend Robert, who's won numerous Best Painted Army awards. And you can just see why. His Titans are absolutely gorgeous. And as with every Titan I saw at Embers of War 3, you can really see the time and thought that's gone into crafting and painting each of the Titans. I even overheard some hobby chat with one person talking about spending hours thinking about posing a miniature using blue tack, hating the posing, and spending another day thinking about it. And they're not wrong about it. I've got a partially built Warlord Titan that I've been paralyzed from building, because every time I think about putting it together, I just keep thinking, nah, the pose is gonna be rubbish. So that's Adeptus Titanicus in a nutshell. The game isn't anywhere near as big as 40k, and I don't think it wants to be. Titanicus doesn't have a constantly updating rules system, so if you're looking for a game that doesn't change every time you go to table, this could be a game system for you. And what's more, if you absolutely love to spend the time getting the right look and feel for each individual model in your army, you're in no doubt missing out if you aren't giving Adeptus Titanicus a go. Thank you very much for watching. This is Jay and his delightful partner Christina's dog, Emmy. Christina was incredibly helpful during the event, and Emmy was an absolute delight. She was barking every time someone opened the door, and she was incredibly fond of the camera, as you can see. Please give the video the usual YouTube stuff, it really helps the channel out. If you'd like to support me, please consider subscribing, And I also have a Patreon and Ko-fi with a couple of member benefits. Thank you very much.